Welcome back to the On the Road Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Landon Rhoads. Today, once again, we have my good friend Dylan Dietrich on the show. Dylan, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Last time we were really focused on the NFL side of things, but now NFL season's over. Brady got another one, same old story. We've seen that one before. But now we're in the heart of the NBA season, so we're going to be looking ahead to All-Star Weekend here and some halfway awards predictions as well. So to get things started, I'm just going to ask you about the dunk contest here. Should be exciting. We've had some really good ones the past few years, but no Aaron Gordon this year, unfortunately. But we got Obi Toppin, we got Cassius Stanley, and we got Inferne Simons. So who do you like to win this of those three guys? Kind of a small pool this year.
Right. I think Obi Toppin's definitely kind of surprisingly the biggest name in this dunk contest. I think everyone kind of knows who he is, seeing him on SportsCenter from the things he's done at Dayton and in his short time as a rookie with the Knicks. I think my personal favorite to win this award is actually going to be Inferne Simons. I think he's really a slept-on player and he's a really good athlete. So I've always kind of been a fan of him, but I kind of want to see him put this one home. Cassius Stanley, I don't think anyone's ever really heard of that guy, so I hope he does good. I've seen some of his highlights, and he's a good athlete, but I got Simons to take this.
All right, I'm gonna go with Toppin. His Dayton highlights are crazy. I hope he pulls it off. Pulls one off for Ohio. But Stanley, I kind of like his dark horse ability here. He could come out of nowhere and just because like you said, not that many people know about him. He could take that personally and maybe take that frustration out on the rim.
Absolutely, make a little bit of a name for himself. That's for sure. And we've definitely seen that happen in previous dunk contests too, especially recently. So. Yeah,
definitely. So that's our dunk predictions for the dunk contest. 3-point contest. This is a much bigger pool. We have Steph Curry, familiar face in this one, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, and Tatum from the Celtics. So who do you like? Because I think we have some that have been here before, like Curry, and then we have some that are maybe not the guys you would expect to be in the 3-point contest. Like for me personally, I was a little surprised to see Jaylen Brown there. I know he can shoot the three, but I don't think of him as the guy you'd have in the 3-point contest. What's your take on this competition?
No, I agree with you on Jaylen Brown. He's definitely not exactly what you think of as just a knockdown sniper, you know what I mean? I think it's hard to bet against Curry, man. I just don't see any reason that I would say that Steph Curry is not going to win this. But, I like to see some good competition. All these are really good names, and I think everyone's got a chance, but it's just really hard to say that I'm going to bet against Steph Curry, who's easily, in my opinion, the best shooter of all time. So he's definitely the favorite.
I agree with you. I have Curry or Booker as my prediction. Although Booker did take a hard fall in that Lakers game last night before the ejection, of course, but I was a little worried there that he hurt his wrist. It looked like he was okay, but hope he's good to go for that. But then we got the skills competition, and in some ways this is actually the one I'm looking forward to the most. I know that might be a hot take, but we got really a good variety of players here. We got Luka, we got Sabonis, we have Robert Covington from the Trailblazers now. We have Chris Paul, Julius Randle, and Nikola Vucevic from the Magic. So of those guys, like I said, big variety of skill sets, but that's what you want for this competition. Who do you see bringing this one home?
The skills competition is easily the least flashy event of All-Star Weekend. I don't think, but it's honestly one of my favorite things to watch. I actually really enjoy watching it, but I also think the winner of it is that's probably the most meaningless trophy also that you get, you know what I mean? The winning a dunk contest or a 3-point contest, that kind of adds some recognition to your name. The skills competition doesn't really carry the same weight. So, but I always like watching it. I think CP3 he's a Hall of Famer. All these other guys are kind of up and coming names. Luka Doncic, obviously a big star, but I would say those two are probably the favorites. Although I do like watching the big guys kind of show out a little bit. So definitely keep your eye on Sabonis too.
Yeah, I think Sabonis and Vucevic are both kind of sneaky. You know, the European big man. They have some game. They can dribble a little bit. We'll see. But also, I mean, yeah, worth noting, we have a decent amount of European players overall with Luka as well in there. So speaks to the versatility of the European game. So there we go. Wish we could see Dirk in this one, but anyway, going on to the actual game, the game itself, East versus West. I want to know who you think is going to win this, because in recent years, it has gotten a little more competitive because they introduced the new rule last year that made particularly the end of the game actually feel competitive, because they're having issues in the All-Star game in the past with players not exactly giving it their all. Obviously, they don't want to get hurt in a somewhat meaningless game, which is why we get like 150 to 145 as a final score, stuff like that. But who do you have taking this?
Well, that's exactly what you want to see, though. You want to see the 150, 145. You know, we're not trying to see lockdown defense. There's a reason Patrick Beverley is not a perennial all-star. You know, it's not really what you want to see in the all-star game. Like to see guys get shots up and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I think having KD not in the game is going to be tough. I really would have liked to see LeBron versus KD, but we'll see. It's always going to be competitive, you know, so.
Yeah,
in a way, it'll be competitive in a way. You know, it's going to be close. It's not necessarily going to be the guys, you know, giving it their all, putting their hearts on the line. You know, so should be.
Yeah, it's going to be a shootout. Hopefully, we get some awesome dunks. Last year, we had the Curry to Giannis bounce oop, as I recall. That was amazing. But I got Team Giannis this year just because Giannis, Embiid, those are two guys that I feel like are going to play pretty hard no matter what. They're two guys that I think just they kind of take things personally. And on top of that, I was looking over the rosters of each team, and I just think Team Giannis has more young up-and-comers that have stuff to prove. You got like Julius Randle, people like that. I know it might not be the flashiest name, but I do think it's going to come down to who wants it more. And I think the team that's younger with more to prove in Team Giannis will come out on top. So that's all we have for the All-Star festivities this weekend. I'm now going to just shift our focus over to the second half of the NBA season. And looking back at the first half, I want to know a team or two teams that surprised you, either in a positive way or a negative way. Take it whichever way you want. But who are two teams that surprised you?
I think obviously the Jazz have probably been the biggest surprise of the entire NBA with how I would say them in the next, just as far as their actual record. I still don't think, I think the Jazz have a long way to go in terms of actually, kind of establishing themselves as contenders. I also really like Phoenix this year. I like what they've done a lot. Having CP3, that veteran presence amidst all those young guys, really star players, you know, so I really like them. I think they've done pretty well as far as good positive surprises, as well as the Knicks in the East. You know, no one really saw that coming, I think, but Tom Thibodeau kind of going in there and, you know, turning the defense around as he is wont to do, kind of establishing them as a competitive team. I would say those are the biggest surprises of the year so far.
Yeah, I agree with those picks for sure. I also had the Suns written down as one of my positive surprises. I got two negative surprises for you here, though. We got the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sorry, man, but they gave the Clippers a fight in last year's playoffs. I mean, they looked really good, and they have injury concerns, so I'm not going to entirely, say they're not going to make the playoffs. I honestly think they probably will in a lower seed, but not what I was expecting.
With the new playoff format. They definitely have a
definitely.
chance.
I was hoping that they would take the next step, though, and maybe secure a higher West seed, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. But
with Dallas in the regular season, it's kind of hard to put the entire season on the shoulders of your young superstar, because he's arguably one of the top 5-10 players in the league right now in Luka Doncic, and if you look at the rest of their roster, top to bottom, it's pretty thin, especially with KP kind of being in and out of the lineup always, so it's kind of tough ask, but I agree with your sentiment that when it comes down to playoff time, they will step it up. So.
Yeah, I think they will. Porzingis has been in and out of the lineup, so we'll just see about them. But my other one that was a negative surprise here would have to be the Miami Heat. Again, injury issues, worse than the Mavericks, quite honestly. The injury issues in Miami have been really bad. Butler's
COVID
out
protocols
again.
As well.
Yep, COVID protocols wiped out a good amount of their players there, and yeah, I mean, they need everybody healthy. They got some older players, like Dragic mostly is who I'm thinking of with that one, but he's actually healthy currently, but I don't know if it's going to last. He's had some issues this season. But again, I think the Heat will make the playoffs similarly to the Mavericks, but I think it'll be a low seed, and it might be a bit of a fight for them to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't think anyone's really expecting that after their Cinderella finals run last season.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I wasn't expecting that coming into this year, but I was expecting better than this.
Right.
So that is what it is. But rooting for Miami, I hope they make it again. I like that team, but not what I wanted so far. Not what anyone wanted, I don't think, unless you don't like Miami.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, so you know what? Good for you, Miami haters. Halfway through the year, you're looking good. But now we're going to just go on to the very end, the end all here, the NBA Finals. I want to know your prediction. Are you going to go with the safe pick, which most people are saying, like, not trying to take the wind out of your sails if you were about to say this, but Nets-Lakers seems to be what everybody's saying. I purposely avoided that in my prediction. What's your finals prediction?
I mean, it's as far as the Eastern Conference, it's real hard to pick against the Brooklyn Nets, I think. Philadelphia is obviously the number one seed in the East right now, but how could you possibly trust them after everything that they've done these past few finals with this same core, especially now the addition of Doc Rivers as their coach? Obviously he's a championship coach, but at the same time, he has a long, colorful history of underperforming in playoff situations. Meanwhile, you have the Brooklyn Nets that have two NBA champions and James Harden, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, currently leading the league in assists, also averaging 25 a game. Like that team just has so much firepower. And in the West, I mean, yeah, I think the Lakers are, hard to beat. Although the one thing about the Lakers I will say is that LeBron putting all his chips into the basket for kind of making an MVP run, really showing out during this regular season. After this shortened off season and the amount of miles that he has on his body, I definitely think that he is a candidate to wear out throughout the playoff and potentially kind of falling short towards the end. But at the same time, it's LeBron James. It's hard to bet against that guy once again. I think kind of a sleeper pick for the Western Conference would be the Phoenix Suns. I really like what they've done this year. I could see them kind of maybe giving the Lakers a bit of a challenge in the Western Conference Finals. That's something that I would like to see personally. So, especially with CP3 kind of aging, but still, a cagey vet. So, yeah. I'd like to see a Lakers Suns Finals, the Western Conference Finals. That is.
I would not mind that at all either. I was hoping that CP3 was going to make the Western Conference Finals with the Thunder last year. Barely didn't happen because of the Rockets, and then that went to 5 games, and really disappointing. But hopefully CP3 gets another chance to face LeBron in the Western Conference Finals. I like the Suns as well. I went with kind of an out there finals prediction just because, we got to get the people talking. I got 76ers Clippers. Okay. Here's the thing. The Clippers, they just have to figure it out for one run. I don't know if they can do it, but they might be able to. And if they just get everything clicking for one great playoff run. I mean, Kawhi's done it before with the Raptors. I know that was a one and done season. Now this is his second season with the Clippers, but I don't think there's any reason that it being his second season should hurt his chances. Mm-hmm. I love the Nuggets, and I hate to call them beating them a fluke last year, but it definitely was not what people thought was going to happen. Definitely not a fluke. I mean, a win is a win, but I would say a somewhat an unexpected, unpredictable outcome.
I think the thing with both the Clippers and the Nuggets actually too is that it's kind of hard to. They don't exactly inspire confidence in you that they're going to make it all the way. You know, I mean, they definitely have great players, but it's not like they have, I don't know, the superstar level caliber players. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and they just haven't done it before. You know what I mean? And the Clippers, I mean, man, they just have such a bad history of blowing playoff series. You know, and why would you ever really, you know, think that they're going to make something happen, you know? And maybe they will. And I like the Clippers, you know, Paul George, Kawhi, honestly, top to bottom, when they're all playing their best, they're one of the best rosters in the NBA, if not the best, you know? So I definitely think that they could make something happen, but we just have to kind of see it to believe it at this point. So, and I feel the exact same way about Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're basically in the same situation. They both blow leads in the playoffs or don't even gain leads in the first place, whatever. They lose in the playoffs. But,
they don't win in the playoffs. That's what it comes down to, right? And that's the most important thing you can do as a professional sports franchise. So,
but it'd be an interesting little grudge match for Doc Rivers there in the finals. So,
that would be
the
Doc Rivers Bowl.
Yeah, the Doc Rivers Bowl. But so there you have it. We really don't know. In some ways, the finals seem somewhat predictable this year, but then I think if the thing that we all kind of think is going to happen, Lakers-Nets, doesn't happen, then it's kind of a toss-up.
The NBA has definitely garnered a reputation over the past, I would say, 5 to 10 years of being the most predictable sport, just because the Golden State Warriors dynasty and obviously LeBron being so dominant in the Eastern Conference. We had how many straight seasons of Cavs Warriors finals, you know, and everyone kind of started to get used to that. But now the past couple seasons, we've kind of seen it switch up a bit and got, you know, a lot of uncertainty in what could potentially go on throughout the playoffs. So
absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little more unpredictability, and I think the league's competitive right now. So we will see. But we're going to move on here. We got 3 more topics to discuss here. So this one's going to be kind of lightning round with this. But MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. So I want to know, just for each of those, who you think it's going to be and maybe brief reasoning behind each.
Okay. I think LeBron is my MVP favorite right now. I think that he's just putting on an absolute show this season. And especially considering that the driving force behind the MVP is usually media narrative, I think he's got that under wraps right now. I think a dark horse MVP candidate would be Steph Curry with what he's doing on a somewhat banged up Warriors team. And he's still kind of looking like prime Steph Curry right now and reminiscent of what he's done in his previous 2 MVP seasons. So I definitely think that those are my 2 favorites for MVP.
For MVP, I got Embiid right now, but that's only if Simmons doesn't kind of steal his shine a little bit. It's hard. With the narrative like you're talking about, I like LeBron's chances for the narrative, but I also like Luka and Lillard's chances with the narrative. I think in some ways you have to be like the clear face of your team, and that's kind of where the questions are with Embiid. I do think he's the face of the Sixers, but is enough of it taken away by Simmons to cost him MVP? I think probably, but that's my thoughts on MVP. I like Luka, Dame, and LeBron a good deal as well. But for now, I'm going to go with Embiid as it, and maybe
I think
Simmons
if you're a betting man, I think that Steph Curry probably right now is like the best value, because like I'm sure he has fairly low odds right now, and I actually think he has a decent chance to win it. And LeBron is definitely my favorite.
Agreed. So for Defensive Player of the Year, I'll go first here. We'll just switch off. I think Gobert is the favorite to go 3 times in a row, but also, as just talking about him, Ben Simmons, he's a defensive force. He gets a lot of fun is poked at his shots and his shooting, but defensively, Simmons is pretty good. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't really have a shot, but you know what? He can hit shots close to the bucket, and he's a very good defender. So for Defensive Player of the Year, I think either Gobert or Simmons. What's your take on this award?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Gobert is probably the favorite right now. I think this is also kind of a wide open category. You know, I think that the end of the season, second half post All-Star break, is really where somebody could come out of nowhere and kind of steal this award. Because I think, the thing about all these awards is that the same people vote every year. And even though Gobert is probably the favorite, a lot of times there's like a little bit of voter fatigue and people don't really want to see Gobert win 3 back-to-back, Defensive Player of the Year awards. So I think if somebody kind of comes out the second half of the year, makes a name for himself, they could easily steal that award.
Agreed. So now moving on to our final topic here, Coach of the Year. Who do you got?
Right now, I'd have to say it's got to be Quinn Snyder, right? Leading the West, kind of surprise up-and-coming team. I mean, we know about the Jazz. They're a perennial playoff team, but you don't really expect them to be number one in the conference, right? So I think Quinn Snyder is probably up there for me right now. And Tom Thibodeau as well. They're a surprise team, even though they're about 500 right now. It's not exactly like they have one of the best rosters in the league, and just the turnaround they've done with the Knicks. So I think those are maybe the 2 favorites in my eyes right now.
I agree. I had Quinn Snyder at number 1, but as my number 2, I had Monty Williams as a dark horse with Phoenix, and I mean, similar to Thibodeau in terms of the turnaround, but really Phoenix, they capitalized off that momentum they had in the bubble last year. They went undefeated, didn't make the playoffs. That was kind of sad to see, but they certainly built a lot of momentum in last year's bubble. So really exciting to see them continue to build off that, even while adding to their team, because CP3 wasn't even with them in the bubble last year, and they kept it moving even with the roster acquisition. So if the Jazz down the stretch fade a little bit, I could see Monty Williams maybe making a push for it.
Yeah, I agree. This is the same thing that I was kind of saying with the Defensive Player of the Year award too. If some team comes out in the second half of the year, really turns on the Jets, and it's led by a familiar coach or something like that, then I think that they can definitely make a run. It's a wide open category, definitely a second half of the year award. So.
Definitely. And I mean, that's kind of what I like about this NBA season so far is nothing we're talking about really is a lock right now. The closest thing seems to be Lakers-Nets consensus for finals. But other than that, and I mean, that's not a sure thing by any means, but that seems to be like the big consensus out of all of these. But I'm really loving how wide open everything is, even halfway through the year here. So
absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yep, definitely an exciting NBA season. Well, Dylan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Always good to talk to you.
Yep, always good to talk, and I'm sure I'll have you on once again, maybe see if these predictions came true or not, see how accurate we are with our calls. But as always, this is On the Road Sports Talk Show, and catch us next time for another episode.